Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cass Carbon and today we will be doing a review of the Star Wars Black Series Scout Trooper helmet from Hasbro. Up front I want to be clear, this was not sent to me by anyone. I'm not paid to do this review. I simply bought this of my own volition and wanted to talk about it. My goal with this review is to give you guys the most objective information about this particular product that I can, and my opinion where my opinion is relevant. To start out, we'll go ahead and I will show you guys the faces of the box. Please feel free to pause the video if you wish to look at the faces of the box in more depth. But largely, the box itself is plain black with pertinent information and art about the actual product. The bottom of the box is largely uninteresting, actually. If you want to read that, there we go. And then the top of the box shows us a nice profile of the Scout Trooper helmet. When we go to open the box, it is a simple large flap. Then we have two flaps of different sizes. There is a cardboard insert that flips open. And then we have the actual Scout Trooper helmet inside. There we have you. Also included in the box are a couple little pieces of information, some instructional paperwork and safety related paperwork. Here is a nice clear turnaround of the actual Scout Trooper helmet. So, my first reaction to this helmet was that this is a good helmet. All of the necessary details and greeblies and things, the general form factor, all of that is here on this Black Series helmet. So I guess review over, it's an okay product if you just want a Scout helmet. But I want to be in-depth and quite thorough, so as we do so, I have, as an example for point of comparison, another Scout Trooper helmet. This was a kit that I purchased from Moncal Prop Shop on Etsy. I will leave a link in the description for this seller if anyone is interested. But this is a rather accurate Scout helmet that is used by many members of the 501st Legion. As you can see by both of them, there's quite a bit of similarity. The first immediate difference being that the Black Series is a bit more, it's a bit larger. But we'll get into those details as we need to. I do also have this, the Star Wars Costumes Original Trilogy book. I don't have the slip cover on it, but that does exist. Regardless, the main point is that this is a nice book that has a lot of information about various costumes throughout the trilogy, most of the costumes, if not all of the main important ones. But we are also going to be using this book and referencing some of the stuff in here and looking at some of these pictures of the Scout Trooper as we go through the review as well. Lastly, just for the sake of funsies, I also have this, a old, what is it, 1997 Don Post Scout Trooper helmets. There's a lot of inaccuracies, but I thought, you know, just for the fun of comparing thing to thing, it would be fun to have this along as well. So we'll look at these comparisons as the review goes forward. So firstly, looking at the front of the mask, looking at the helmet, the front, the mask, starting with sort of the muzzle area, we do have the gray, long sort of frown section with the little bit of greebly detailing here. This, I think, model kit engine piece, I'm not sure precisely, but we have that in there and it looks quite accurate. We also have the microphone tip, as we should have. I will point out already, the microphone tip is a bit on the side when you really get up and close with it. It's really not something I think you can tell on camera, unfortunately. But my issue that I'm talking about with the mic tip is that when we do look closely at the microphone tip, and again, I hope you can see that on camera, is that the microphone tip itself, this is molded as a cylindrical piece, And then these little silver hash marks that make up sort of the microphone grill, those are just raised molded pieces on top. Now, what it should actually look like, a better representation of what it ought to kind of look like when we look at my Mon Cala helmet, is that this actually is an indented in section with a grill in there, right? Whereas when we compare to the Black Series, it is simply raised detail on top. So if I do this and do that, we put the two next to each other, you kind of can see the difference. Hopefully you can see the difference, but the two microphone tips, this is more accurate to how the Scouts looked. But since I have them next to each other, you can also see the engine grill detail thingy. When we look at the Mon Cala, we have the circle pieces have that flat spot, and the lines are just a little bit different. But I will also say, to be fair, this helmet was a kit, so there are potentially some inaccuracies on the paint on this. So we're not gonna look at this helmet as gospel in terms of some things, but form factor is what I'm really looking at here. Mostly because I know the way I painted this line is a little flumpy. Back on the Black Series, when we look at the goggle is perfectly fine. It is, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I will say this line right here is a little more rounded than what we see on the actual screen used Return of the Jedi Troopers. When we look here at the image from the Lucas Archives, these lines are a little more, they look a little sharper, I would say, a little more of a straight edge line, whereas on this, the goggle is a little bit more round on the sides. Yeah, so if I try to tilt the Black Series helmet in the same position, you can kind of see that in the Return of the Jedi, that line was a little sharper. It might just be an angle thing based on photos and based on perception, but that is what I am observing. Now, this is a thing that I think is kind of an interesting choice. Here on the mask portion, we have this little, you could either call it the nose or the little baby frown, like a stormtrooper frown, this little tiny baby frown. Yeah, now you see it, right? It's like this little tiny mouth. Anyway, when we look at the little nose grill here and we look at these three stripes at the forehead, we notice that on the Black Series, these are actually molded in details that then later received paint. That is different from what was done back in the original trilogy. Those details were just, I believe they were painted on, or they were stickers of some sort. And I will tell you that most 501st members, this is either painted or stickered detail. But certainly different here on the Black Series helmet. This being molded into the plastic, these little black lines are actually recessed in. Same with these gray lines. That's quite a different choice, but I don't think it's a bad one. I think it helps those details pop a little more when you get up close and you're like, wow, look at the thing. Now looking at the sort of, I guess we could call this the blinders or the visor or whatever, but this trim piece that goes around the mask, they have molded it very well. It is the shape that it ought to be. However, here's where things get a bit unexpected, unusual. The thickness we see here is accurate to what this actually is. And what I mean is, like, when we compare to, say, my Mon Cala helmet, my Mon Cal helmet, this is simply a vacuum formed shell, and it's actually hollow in here. This ridge is just the line that we keep so we look like the Return of the Jedi helmet. But this is just the thickness of the actual plastic. It's not, it doesn't have real thickness to it. Whereas on the Black Series, it is actually that thick, because what they did was mold a separate part. There's There's an inner piece and there's an outer piece that are put together. And so I don't think that's a bad thing. But what we do get that is a bad thing is this. We get a seam line. Now, if you can see that in there, this line that runs all the way up and around, and yeah. So we do get a seam line in there. Now, at distance, you're not going to see the seam line, but when you look at it up close, it is there, and I don't like it. I think that these additional seam lines take away from this being a replica of the thing that we're trying to replicate. You know what I'm saying? Moving now to the sides of the head, on the wearer's left-hand side, we do have this emblem that is supposed to be here, as well as the bolts that are on both sides of the helmet. On this, these are not actual bolts. This is just a detail, this is just a circle that is just a detail part of the helmet. This is not a functional bolt in and of itself. Whereas, again, going back to my replica helmet, this is actually the physical bolt that makes the hinge of the mask actually work. When we see, where's the well, actually, I'm not gonna go digging for it. But this is actually on my replica, the functional bolt that makes this whole rotation actually happen. Not so the case with the Black Series helmet. It is simply a molded on detail, which is fine. Moving further back, we have sort of the ear cap wrap thing. I'm not sure precisely what to call it, but we have sort of the ear vent. And there's a couple inaccuracies to this that I want to point out. Firstly, this hole is really meant to be a hole. It is supposed to be cut out. This black section should be cut out, and because effectively what this was almost like an air intake. I don't know why you would want an air intake quite like this on a helmet, but you know, I guess if you're going really fast on a bike, it would be really helpful. Anyway, realistically, this should be a hole, and it's not. It's actually flat plastic with this section painted this way. Honestly, when we look at the OG Don Post helmet, it's the same situation. This is just a solid spot that has a painted on detail. But it is widely regarded that the Scout helmet, it should be a hole. And on my replica from Mon Cala, even though you can see the yellowish, even though you can see the padding I put in here, it gets better when there's a head inside and it gets darker. But yeah, this should be a hole. This shouldn't be a solid spot. So I don't know necessarily how Hasbro would have remedied that. Perhaps on the Black Series, if this had been cut out, they could have just had it more of a recessed space that's just a cutout that's just deeper, maybe. Something like that. But, I mean, for what Hasbro's doing, this is a sensible solution. I'm just pointing out the inaccuracy. Again, we have another very, very blatant seam. And this is, there's another couple seams I'm gonna point out, but this is the seam that is the most egregious because it's right here on the side of the head. It's the profile of the helmet, and you know, again, you step back, you're not really gonna see it, but up close, when you really get in there, this seam goes all the way up and around. And if there had been a way for the folks at Hasbro to hide the seam better or not have the seam at all, that would have been nice to see. Moving our way around to the back of the head, we have the long, not long, but the trapezoids with the lines in there, molded in this is a separate gray plastic part. And when you get really in there, you can see those are actually recessed holes. We will get into the why of that later. We also have the, on the wearer's left-hand side, we have the stripe details. For some reason, the detail stripes here are done in gray. I don't really know why that was done that way, because when we reference the book, when we reference the OT, those stripes are actually black. It's a small photo, to be sure, but we see right here those stripes are actually done up in a darker color. Might be hard for you guys to see that on camera. These stripe details ought to be black, and I don't know why they went with gray. Odd choice. These stripes do also hide the battery tray, but again, we will get into that in the features of the helmet. On the right-hand side, we have the line of divots that are cut out. They're molded in there, and they're really hard to see. Not just on camera, they're very subtle when you look at these little divots. And I don't really know why they went so subtle with those. I would have liked to have seen them, the details be a little more sharp. I would describe the molding here as like soft, rather than sharper, crisper lines, if that makes sense. When we compare to my replica helmet, and it might just be the paint I used, I don't know, but we can see these details a little more clearly. I believe that the molding process used made it so those lines are a bit sharper. You see how you can see them on my replica. They're more defined on the replica versus the Hasbro. On the Hasbro, they're softer, right? They're harder to see. Next, when we look at the dome, on camera, it looks like a dome. I will point out that we do, unfortunately, on the top of the dome, it's really hard to see, but there's this little nub right there. You can see it in the glint of the light. This little nubbin is from the molding process. I'm making a presumption here that this part was like on a sprue, and that was where the injection molded process was coming from. It was injecting the plastic at this point, and then that little nub was cut off. That's what I'm assuming. And it sucks because that nub is right here on the top of the dome. Like, if there had been a way where they could have reversed it and done the injection from the inside, maybe that would have saved the dome from having this little mark. But I don't see it as a massive problem because it is on the top of the dome. And let's say you're wearing this helmet, you're gonna be looking at it from these sides primarily. You're not gonna look at it from this angle a lot of the time. Even if you take this thing and you just like stick it on the shelf and look at it, again, you're not gonna be like, wow, the dome. So it's not a deal breaker, but it is there. It is to be pointed out. Also, we see, and it's, oh man, it is hard to see on, oh, there we go. A little difficult to see on film, but the dome and the back of the head, there is a seam going around here. Again, it's like this, it's like the little mold bump. It's not something that's super obvious, but it is worth pointing out. There is a mold, or a seam line, excuse me, between the two parts that wraps around the back of the head as well. So that's the breakdown of the outside of the helmet, but now let us look at the inside of the helmet. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop that open real quick and remove this. On the interior of the helmet, we have all this padded detail. This is something we've never seen in Return of the Jedi, and I don't think it's ever been seen in any expanded universe or Disney era stuff, but it's cool to see that they added some detail in here just to kind of pretty up the helmet. These little doobers here at the top of the dome, these are actually, you can see they're like squishy. They're like a softer rubbery material, and kind of like they're hollow, so they flex quite well and they help with comfort. We also have these little patches of Velcro strategically put in four corners, which, as you saw, this little pad that comes with the helmet we can easily take this pad and stick that in there. And that's pretty good. We also have the chin strap here. It has two little button snap connection points, right? These little snaps that marry to these guys next to the ear. And this rubber chin strap piece, this is accurate to the helmets, even so far back as Return of the Jedi, because the guys in costumes, the actors actually did have this chin strap that they were wearing. We just never saw it in Return of the Jedi, but I digress. This is here, it is adjustable at the sides. You simply have this adjustment type system, the ones where you pull on the cord and run it through to the desired setting so it fits your chin. On the mask side of the interior, we see a few things. We see, again, more mechanical detail, which is, not necessary, but it's cool, it's appreciated. Let's see, what's a good angle? Let's move that out of the way. And if I turn it upside down, you guys can see it in the light better. You just have to turn your screen upside down. But we can see there's lots of fun little mechanical details, but two important things to note. There is this little nose pad piece, and there's also these little slots that are on either side of here for ventilation. These lead through the plastic, and there's matching ventilation that is hidden on the front. This whole piece covers ventilation. Now I will say two things as far as performance. This ventilation is okay. It's okay, it's not great. But it is appreciated that it's there. The other thing, this nose piece, you definitely need the nose piece, because this helmet, once you have it on your head and it's shut, that nose piece will be resting on your nose. So that's kind of an important little piece. So now, since we've already covered the look of the helmet, I want to cover the functionality and the features that this thing has. I'm going to talk about the faceplate. So as you guys saw already, the faceplate does open. This is not only accurate to the Return of the Jedi costumes, but we do see it in, I think, some expanded universe stories, but it definitely did show up in some Disney era stuff. Regardless, having the faceplate feature is something that is appreciated, and I think they executed it on it fairly well. As you can hear, and as you can kind of see as well, they decided to go with sort of a ratchet joint. So every, it has different positions that it wants to sort of lock into. And I think that's pretty cool. That's a good way to do it, I think. And like if I do this, if I swing the helmet around, or do any crazy stuff, it doesn't really want to open too easily. You saw that it clicked open 1 degree, but I have it completely upside down and I'm like really shaking it. Under normal circumstances, when you have it on your head, this shouldn't really be an issue, right? If you do take this helmet and you just sling it around and bash it around, yeah, this joint here, this ratchet, it is gonna get loose. I mean, like, that's just the simple truth of it, right? And since we're talking about that, since we're talking about this mech, on my replica helmet, generally, my mask stays shut because I used Velcro to latch it shut. Simple little Velcro tabs. This on mine, the faceplate and the visor blinder thing, this is all just thin vacuum formed plastic, so this isn't super heavy. So this can easily just be shut and the Velcro will do its job and stay nice and shut like that. So if that does become a problem for you in the future, trying not to bash the table and shake the camera, if that does become a problem where the faceplate on the Hasbro helmet does that, mayhaps, it's an idea, maybe some Velcro lining in here and along the inside of this. Maybe that could help remedy that if you had that problem in the future, or if you're more willing to chop into the plastic and embed and glue down magnets, or even just glue the whole thing just permanently shut. Those options are there as well. I will say you can keep the thing shut and put it on your head, though the chin strap gets a little flumpy and annoying if you do put the helmet on that way. So the other main feature that we need to talk about is the electronics, because for some reason, I don't know why they feel so inclined to continue doing this, but Hasbro on their Black Series helmets, they generally always seem to put electronics in these things. I don't think it's wrong of them to put the electronics in, but I think largely these are features that most of us buying these helmets are not gonna care about. No. Certainly I don't, because oftentimes these features are not as cool as they live up to be, but that's subjective. What the Scout Trooper offers electronically is a voice changer. So on the bottom of the mask, we see this little bitty baby button. When you push that button, it will turn on the electronics. It'll turn on the voice changer, which here inside the mask, I'm not entirely sure where, but I believe it's this little baby circle. There's a microphone, and it does a voice changer effect, which leads to the speakers, which are right here. This is the speaker. I don't know why they chose to do it this way, but the speaker for the voice changer effect is this trapezoid right here. It's not both, it is simply one of the two trapezoids. Very strange choice in my opinion. I don't know why they decided to do it that way. One speaker, and very strange. All right, so here is the Scout helmet on a head. This is, I guess, your first chance to see that. And you can also hear what I sound like when I talk with the helmet on. And before I go into actually turning the voice changer on, I do want to say that the experience of wearing this thing, this isn't bad. There's plenty of room in here. I'm holding my head still, and you can see that I can shift the helmet pretty easily around on my head. So, if you are someone who has a bit of a larger size head, this might fit a bit tight. If you have a smaller head, you may want to add some padding just to make this thing stay in place. I will say, however, that I have purchased and I own a few other Black Series helmets, and I do like this one quite a bit in terms of its wearability and fit. There is also the issue of fogging on the lens. I have this spray that I'm going to put on the inside to help keep that at a minimum, but it does become an issue because you're in an enclosed space, and as you breathe, it's going to fog this up. So one thing you may want to practice doing if you're going to buy one of these and wear it is breathing and directing where the air goes. So if you try to breathe down, this is nice and open in here, so a few good breaths like that can help clear some of this fogging. But that's my experience after doing costume stuff like this since 2007. All right, that little bit of a tangent over, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the button and you will hear a click sound. Hopefully you heard that. So now when I talk, you hear there's this effect on top of my voice. From inside the helmet, it's a little loud, and I don't think it really sounds like a stormtrooper, or I guess a scout trooper would be accurate. There's also a bit of lag. The effect follows my voice rather than being perfectly in time with me as I speak. Also, the breathing technique I mentioned, you know, that kicks the mic and makes it activate as well. One good thing that I definitely want to praise for the voice changer effect. When you're done talking, you do get the microphone click that you hear in the original trilogy from the Stormtroopers. So if I turn the mic towards you, you can hear when I stop talking, there's the mic click. Now that's cool. I like that. I like that quite a bit actually, because that's a detail that should be there, and on a feature that most people are going to say isn't really relevant. It's cool that they added that detail to that feature. I just think that mic click is cool. Hey. I turned the mic off, and again, you can hear me talking normally. Hopefully I am as audible as possible. But as you can see, with me moving all around again, this is also a good demonstration of, I talked about the faceplate. It's not really going to come loose, or it shouldn't come loose unless you're really abusing the helmet. Another thing to point out, if you are someone like me who wears glasses are not going to fit in here because this mask is close to the face. So if you wear glasses, you're not going to be able to wear them with this unless the glasses you have are like really, really, really tiny. Right now I'm wearing contacts, so I'm good. I can see what I'm doing, but glasses and this will not work. So now that I have the helmet off, I do want to show you guys where they have the battery tray. If I didn't mention it before, it is hidden right here behind the stripy panel on the left-hand side. I do like how they hid the button to open this panel. So right here we see there's this little nubbin. We push that, and that helps to release this entire panel, and that just comes right off. I think that's a good way to have a panel like this to hide that button in the details of it, right? Because at a distance, it's one of those things, you're not gonna see that this little guy is a button. You're just gonna see it as another part of the stripy details. But hiding it in that way, I think that was clever on their part. So good on you, Hasbro. So once we have that cover off, we have 2 screws, and I have a Phillips head screwdriver. Once we have the screws out, it is 3 AAA batteries that are inside the battery tray. As far as I'm concerned, since I don't really care about the voice changer feature, I am going to go ahead and remove these batteries because, as I said, it is a feature I likely will never use past this review, and I don't want to leave batteries in something that is going to get corroded and damage this item. That would be bad. I will also point out that the helmet did not come with batteries. You have to supply your own. So if you are, for some reason, the collector type who doesn't want to open your items, you like keeping them in the box, if you, for some reason, want to do that with a Black Series helmet, you don't have to worry about battery corrosion. And then that and that. Last thing I want to do is show you guys comparison of the helmet on a full Scout Trooper costume. First, I'll show you guys my Mon Cala replica helmet, just so we have a point of comparison. Now, same thing, but with the Hasbro Black Series. So the final verdict I have to share with you all is that if you are looking for a decent Scout Trooper helmet, the Black Series helmet is a good purchase. I don't believe that this would pass 501st Legion requirements, but if you're simply interested in having a good quality helmet, I would say that this would hit the mark. It has some inaccuracies, it's a little larger than I believe it ought to be, but generally speaking, for the money, for a retail helmet, this is a pretty doggone good helmet. However, I would say that if you are someone who is hyper-focused on detail, you want to be a member of the 501st Legion or something like that, there are alternatives on places like Etsy, like Mon Caliph Props. And I'm not sponsored by them either, by the way. I have one of their suits and I like their stuff. So then, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up this video, this review. My name is Cast Carbon. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I do here, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.